Welcome to episode 22 of 100 Years of Marine Corps Tankers. A mission dedicated to honoring the legacy of Marine tankers and remembering the stories of what made the community special, told through those words of the Marines that towed the line. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest who dedicated 20 years of honorable service and a true technical expert and on multiple platforms with extended combat experience. It is my pleasure to welcome to the channel Master Sergeant Troy Yates.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on here. I learned something interesting reading your bio. You were actually born in 1972 in Pisa, Italy. How did that come about, and when did you come to the United States?
Okay, so I was an Army brat. My dad was stationed in Camp Darby in Pisa. So I think after his tour there, he got orders and came back to the States. So it's kind of funny because I've always, I like to have a good time. Those that know me know that I like to screw around. I like telling jokes, and I just have a good time with everything. But I always thought it was funny. People would ask me, what my nationality was, and I said, well, I was born in Italy. I got a Thai mom and a white hillbilly for a dad. So I guess I'm 100% American. So that's so yeah, that's my story. That's how so I'm not an Italian citizen. I don't want those guys coming after me.
For back taxes or whatever you owe.
Right, back taxes, or they want me to serve on the Centauro or something. You know what I mean?
1990, you graduated from Buena High School.
Yeah.
And subsequently enlisted in the Marine Corps. Went to West Coast Recruit Depot, San Diego, and then reported to Fort Knox, where you obtained the MOS of 1812 M1A1 Armor Crewman. What inspired you to become a Marine, and did you know you wanted to become a tanker from the beginning?
All right, so that's kind of a funny story. So, I mean, this is for those that know me and those that don't. You might not have heard the story, but being a Marine was not my first choice. I was kind of a troublemaker in high school. My attendance wasn't very, very good at all. Matter of fact, they used to call us super seniors. So we were on the 5-year plan. So I tried to join the Army. I wanted to be airborne infantry. I just thought I liked jump boots, and I like how they bloused the trousers. I liked everything about that. And I was getting at the age where I thought, man, you know what? I'm going nowhere. I keep getting into trouble. I need to graduate high school. So anyways, I get a hold of this Army recruiter, and then, he starts talking about airborne infantry. It's looking good for me. Calls me about 2 weeks later, and he says, hey man, has anything happened to you since the last time we talked? I said, well, as a matter of fact, Sergeant, there is. I got in trouble with the police. It was minor in possession of alcohol. So just a high school party. So he was upset because he had to redo the paperwork. So actually the Marine recruiter, in true Marine fashion, he overheard this, and I think the recruiters call it poaching, but so he snatched me up. He was like, hey man, come over here. What, possession of what? What, was this a controlled substance? I said, no, it's just alcohol. And he's like, don't worry, we can get you a waiver, all that stuff. Don't worry about it. He said, what do you want to do? I said, look, I just want to be, I want to join. I want action. So it was a combat arms option. So it was either going to be artillery, combat engineers, or tanks. I said, I'll sign it. I don't care. That sounds good to me. I'll sign that. So I signed that, and then I had to finish, high school. But because I was in a 5-year plan, they put me in this. It was actually funny that they put me in a trailer on the edge of the school property with, like there was other, troublemakers, and they had, some of the pregnant girls were in there or whatever. But you just knocked out your tests, and I always thought, hey, this is my kind of speed, like, So I took the scenic route through high school, joined the Marine Corps, and then when I was in MCT, that's when the orders came out and said, yeah, you're going to go to tank school. I thought, okay, that's going to be pretty cool. So
while you were at tank school, what was your early impressions of the tank community?
Okay. Yeah. So first I thought I knew a lot of things because being an Army brat and being around a lot of soldiers, I was like, man, look at those guys. That must be some kind of airborne guys running around. And it ended up being the Marine, the students, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be pretty tough. I thought, tank school, I thought MCT, but this was, man, it just was another level of training and intensity that I didn't think was possible. It was, somebody made the comment, it was like 4th phase, and you had guys there, those guys were sergeants at the time. So you had like Sergeants Prevost, Rhodes, you had Gary Smart, he was one of our sergeants, Townsend, all these guys, all these names that probably people have heard in these different interviews. But yeah, so it was really it was great because you're only you're a Marine unit on that base, so you got to make sure that your shit's wired. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
And then your first assignment was out to beautiful 29 Palms, California, with First Tank Battalion, where you served as a member of Charlie Company. And with Charlie, you held the billets of driver, loader, gunner, and tank commander. So you ran the gamut on the billets there. Your accolades include being selected as Charlie Company Tanker of the Year, no small feat there. And then winner of the Hot Shot, which for those who don't know is the award given for scoring the highest during the semi-annual tank gunnery. And then you were also selected to the rank of sergeant here. So obviously that's a pretty robust period of time there. Who were some of your leaders that were influential to you while serving in Charlie Company?
Okay, so I reported in Charlie Company December 20th, 1991, and there was only 3 of us, new guys from that drop. So when we showed up, I went to first platoon, and my platoon sergeant was at the time Staff Sergeant Mummy. So he brought me in, and it was actually pretty intimidating for those guys. I'm a short guy, 5'7". This guy's tall, he's a scary man, and you're looking at him. Plus that battalion, those Marines, they had just got back from Desert Storm recently. So, you're kind of walking into this, kind of club that, you're the new guy. Of course, you're going to get some shit, which is normal. I kind of expected that, but it was very different because immediately, it was so much different from tank school. I was in the fleet now. And since it was December, 20th, the next day, one of the Marines, they grabbed me and they said, "Hey, we're going to go to Sergeant Quinones's house and eat." And I thought they were crazy because, the guy's a sergeant. We're just a couple of, we're just turds, we're going to go to the sergeant's house and eat. I just thought that was crazy. But then I started to understand that it truly was a different kind of environment I was in. So, Staff Sergeant Mummy, he was my first platoon sergeant. So a lot of influence there. He'll influence me later. I got a couple other stories about that. But after, Mumbo, everybody knows what his style is, and he's very, strict and to the point, and he has his ways. But his replacement. I remember as a bunch of boots, we kind of thought it was funny. We heard he was PCSing, so we were all relieved. Like, oh fuck, thank goodness we're going to get a break, right, from the chaos. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, because his replacement was a man named Gunnery Sergeant Steve Melville. And if Mumbo was your stern, and fair father, Melville would be your stepdad that liked to beat your ass every once in a while. So, but I mean, he still loved you, but he was very just. And you talk about, both of those men are lethal, tankers, right. And they can teach you how to fight and teach you how to be lethal. But so Melville was my platoon sergeant probably for the longest time. So he had a huge impact on me, as well as personally, because after I got to know him after a few years, he was, I got to understand, well, maybe not understand, but I got to be able to kind of weather his, hot and cold days. If I could tell a quick story about that, something that really sticks out with me, that I remember is, a lot of times on these interviews that I've been watching, you talk about the leader that goes the extra mile to teach you, they stayed late and they taught some classes, or they had you over at the house. They did whatever it took. So you got to remember, so I'm probably a Lance Corporal at the time, and Melville, everybody knew he was just kind of like, God, he was so demanding. He was like, there's no other way to describe it, but you would be scared of him. The guy was crazy, but in a good way. Thinking about it now. So anyways, on to the story. So I went UNC on the rifle range. Not a lot of people know that. And I went UNC, which for those of you who are watching, that's unqualified on the rifle range. And that's, the tank community is already small enough. So there's a lot of, shame amongst your peers that they're going to give you a lot of trouble for that. So I went unqualified on the rifle range. I shot sharpshooter in boot camp, but I didn't really understand it's like in boot camp, they taught me how to pull the trigger and they taught me, hey, this is how you aim. But I didn't understand like the science of it. So anyways, after I failed at the rifle range, Melville, we're having formation the next morning, and he's like going through the Marines. He says, Yates, fall out. I'm like, oh shit. I mean, that's kind of weird. So I stand off to the side. And then, you're really just a kid, and and Melville was a Vietnam veteran. He'd been around. He was known for just being a badass. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to kick my ass. That's what this is about. I brought shame upon the platoon or whatever. You're still just a kid. So he says, hey, go over to my car. We're going to go. And I'm thinking, hey, Gunny, where are we going? Hey, just shut up. Get over there. So Roger that. I'm like, oh, well, and then, you're thinking of the Marine Corps and you're thinking, man, the lore of the Corps and the myth and all that. So I'm like, man, I'm probably going to get my first ass kicking, like for real, So, all right, that's part of that's how it goes. Anyways, we get in his car, we drive out to the desert. We're already in 29 Palms, but we drive outside the gate. And I remember we're not on a rifle range. We just pulled off the side of the road, down some road. He pulls a rifle out of his trunk and it's an M1. And he's like, all right, listen up, fires up a smoke. And he's like, hey, this is an M1. He goes, if you can fire this, you can shoot anything. And I'm sitting there like trying not to shit myself because I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. Here we are. This is, we're on Marine Corps time. Nowadays it would probably, how many articles just got, broken right there. But the point is, after that moment, I've shot expert ever since. And I've applied those lessons when I went and I instructed others on marksmanship. So there was something there that was when I realized, like, okay, this guy's fucking crazy, but there's a method to his madness. And people don't do that if they think you're worth salvaging or and again, so now I think that kind of goes into what I believe. I kind of wrote down, why do we do so good in the tank community? So now you've got this, old salt that's taught this young guy, kind of unconventionally how to shoot. He used his own ammo. We went out, and it was a very strange day. But after that, I thought, man, this is really kick ass. This is what I kind of thought the Marine Corps was gonna, that kind of thing. So, but to me, after that moment, it was like, man, you got people that are above you that care, so you can't let them down. You got your own peers. They're going to bust your balls if you shoot marksmen on the range. So you got to make sure that you're at least level with them. And then you have the people that you're leading, and you can't let them down. So really, you're surrounded by this like fail-safe system where, like, to fail is just is not even an option. It's there's so much, I guess, shame and disappointment. You're not going to let that happen. You're not going to quit. So that was my experience up to that point there with those kind of people that influenced you. And during that time, that's a long time. That was from 91 to 90, December 91, December 96. That's the same platoon I was in.
That is a long time.
Yeah. So I got out as a sergeant. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that story. There's a lot to pull out of there. Just the mentorship piece, the leadership piece, taking care of Marines.
Yeah,
and just really kind of doing what we do. And that's a really powerful story on a lot of different fronts. But it speaks to number one, him as a leader and you as a Marine, because obviously you took those lessons, took them to heart, and it shaped your career. It shaped the rest of your life. So
absolutely. Another thing on that, it's like, so I always thought it was kind of funny, as you go through the ranks and you start seeing changes, like from headquarters, they push things down, they see things that work. So it's my belief that they, hire maybe the Pentagon, they see, hey, what works? Like and if we write it down, it's going to be like, okay, well, this guy, he knew his Marine, blah, 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 but all those old school guys, they didn't walk around with they weren't part of the Marine Corps mentoring program.
Right.
That was just automatic. Okay, hey, Boot, get over here. This is where you have your chow. This is the armory. This is how you. But they didn't need a handbook on how to behave, I guess. So,
Because it was done out of love. I mean,
right.
ultimately, it was done out
Yeah.
of love. It was done out of
Yeah.
brothership and sistership, and it was done out
Yeah.
of love. You know,
Yeah.
it was the fact that
Absolutely.
he had an opportunity to take care of you and did. I mean, it's just super powerful. So that brings us up to 1997, where you transferred out of tanks for a short period of time into the Marine Corps Security Forces to serve as the cadre trainer, Naval Weapons Station Charleston in Goose Creek, South Carolina, and this is where you remained until the year 2000.
Mhm.
What were your billets? What were your responsibilities in this billet?
So, Marine Corps Security Force cadre trainer is you're part of Security Force battalion, and you are assigned to a naval activity, and your responsibility is, teaching and coming up with, or actually training. So for force protection, you had to train them on shotgun and pistol, qual. So that was another great opportunity. I got to be a shotgun instructor, pistol instructor. You had a lot of law enforcement in the area. They would come and use our range. So I got to, again, be around ordnance. So I was shooting rifle or shooting shotguns and pistols. I had my own little
And you were
armory.
shooting their ammunition, right? Not the ammunition out of your
Ammunition.
truck.
Yeah, 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 shooting there. Yeah. So, and then I was like on the base physical security review board. So this PCS move here kind of set me up for the rest of my career, because I think, after getting my ass kicked by Mumbo and Melville from 91 to 96, now I'm on my own. I went to the security force school, and then I show up in Charleston at the weapons station, and there's two other Marines there, but one of them PCS'd and the other one retired just after a few months after I was there. So I was literally a sergeant, no kidding, from the fleet, scared to death that, Mumbo was going to jump out of the bushes or something. So everything I did was just like they taught me. And, I was in there and I would brief like the CO of the base, naval captain. So I think because of their upbringing, I was able to kind of, not be intimidated by, any kind of brass or any of the, or the master chief or any other. I think if you survive, 5 years of that, it's like, okay, well, if you're brought up by, Attila the Hun, right, you're good, right? So I thought this was great. I got to drive a police car, and I'm the only Marine on the base. Well, there were some ammunition Marines, but I was attached to the security department, so I didn't have to stand post. I got to drive a police car around. So I remember to go get a haircut, I would just pull that thing right up on the curb, walk into the thing at Main Side. I just really embraced it. I had a great time. I would have I'd have something like some naval dental company would call, hey, we want to get our pistol quals, and I would work extra hours. That's a big deal, and I never said no to those personnel that wanted to train. I was in charge of. I had to send up training reports, things like this, to the battalion. So again, this was kind of my first job of being alone, and you'll see there's some other billets where I was on my own for a lot of my time. So maybe I passed the test. I didn't get thrown in the brig, and I didn't do anything dumb while I was out there on that tour. So I mean, yeah, that was pretty much how that tour went.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And for people that don't know, independent duty assignment, as that sounds like it was, is certainly something that is a opportunity to shape your career. And those that do well in independent duty assignments typically do well in future assignments as well. So obviously, you were trusted for that, and you knocked it out of the park. You did really well. So obviously, that speaks to you and your character. After that billet, you returned back to First Tanks, where you served with Bravo Company and Charlie Company.
Yeah.
While there, you became a master gunner,
Mhm.
which we've talked about that before. But that obviously is the subject matter expert for the tank. Very difficult school to go through. Certainly challenging in all aspects. But once you graduate, you are now the subject matter expert for that weapon system, that tank, inside and out. You also served as a platoon sergeant, and then once again, you shot the highest in the company, where you attained the Hot Shot Award. So obviously, you can shoot that tank pretty damn good. And here, you also attained the rank of gunnery sergeant. During this tour, you deployed, and not just the deployment, but you were with Bravo Company for the March to Baghdad, which is one of the most influential modern day tank battles and tank movements that, or we have in the Marine Corps. So I'm going to ask the question, what are some memories or stories that come to mind about this historical deployment?
Okay, if we could just back up just a second, because that's so I show up as a staff sergeant in back to Charlie Company, and I thought, man, this is great. I'm back where I'm from, Charlie Company, and Master Sergeant Mummy was there now. So I'm like, hey Tom, how's it going? I'm in the big leagues now, right? I got my rocker on, right? And so it's customary for the staff NCOs when they check in. You check into the battalion on a Friday, kind of snoop around, see what's going on. So I'm shooting the shit with Top by my car, and he's like, "Hey, welcome back. You're looking good." Blah blah blah. And really, what he's doing, he's checking you out and make sure you're gonna fit in your alphas or whatever, And so, anyways, before he's blesses me and lets me get out of there, he's like, "Hey, man." He goes, you got about, I think it was like a week. I had a week or something. He goes, "Hey, before you check in, remember, we're leaning up against my car." He's like, "Before you check in, you're gonna have them goddamn tires fixed, right?" It's like, "What are you talking about?" I looked down. Yeah, my tires were a little bald, as they get, right? But this guy, and I asked him, I said, I go, "Top, are you freaking serious?" Like, so, and those who know, he took off his glasses, his Ray-Bans, and he looks down at me, and he's like, with his teeth in his knife hand, "Yeah, God damn it, you'll fix them tires." I was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Damn, I thought this guy was screwed." So here's this. So here I am again, another lesson where, hey, I think I'm the shit now as a staff NCO, and I'm already getting tuned up, and I'm getting calibrated, right? MRS update, right? This guy, but he was always like that. It didn't matter that I was his, boot that he grabbed off the bus. He's still looking after, making sure that we're doing the right thing, and he was right. And that's what made it hard to kind of be mad at the guy, because he would just call you out on the shit, and he would just say something like that, "Hey, you're gonna fix them tires, right?" And you're like, "God damn." Yeah, what do? You figure out, you put them tires on your DPP card or whatever you got to do, but you're gonna have them tires on it, So, right. But yeah, I understand now, of course, all those lessons. But it's, and again, that goes back to these layers of kind of leadership and expectation that we have the whole way. Hey, I'm staff NCO now. I got Marines underneath me. I'm going to expect their horn to work or whatever, right, when I do that freaking safety inspection for the 96. So I got it. Hey, message received. Sometimes, right, as a junior guy, you got to center key your helmet and listen. So I did a lot of that. So yep.
So how does that get you to Bravo Company for the march?
Oh yeah. So again, I thought I thought Charlie Company, I'm home. There is, in my opinion, there is no other company on earth, right? So I'm like, this is Charlie Company. This is where I belong. They send me to the staff academy. I think it was 6 weeks or whatever. I'm down in Pendleton. I'm learning how to PT and how to be a professional, and learn how to do PowerPoint and stuff. So it was Captain Purcell and First Sergeant Swanberg, I believe. They came to my graduation on Friday, right, as you do, and they're like, "Hey, stud, that was awesome, great ceremony. It's Friday." He's like, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and take the day off?" He goes, "But on Monday, move your shit out. You're going over to Bravo Company." And really, it's funny, we get territorial. I mean, some people might just pick up their shit and go over to the next company, but I'm like, God, Jesus, maybe you did something wrong, or hey, this is my team. It's, how would you feel if you're on a football team and they're like, "Hey, not so fast, killer. You got, you're going from a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform to, hey, you got to throw on the Bears jersey."
Speaking my language, man.
Right? Are you serious? Like, so, hey, Roger that. So I go over there, and you talked about people that helped shape me. Was so they're building a company, and different movements. How it goes. A company gets whittled down to nothing. It's a skeleton crew. So Master Sergeant Alan Johnson drafted me to come over there and rebuild that company. And and then in your other interview I saw you, that's where, and then we acquired Nick Popadich. I remember I was on the ramp when he pulled up with his trailer. He was looking where he can stash that thing, his motorcycle trailer. But that was the beginnings of, to me, that was a champion team. That was badass. If some people, they have their stories of when they went through high school, or they were on the team, you know, when they won the national championship. That team was stacked to the gills with just badasses.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with Top J. He was our tank leader, and this guy was, you know, he's very uncouth, you know, but he's the kind of guy you want to, you know, you want by your side. And again, learning from these guys. And I guess it's funny because the lesson here is, you know, no matter the leadership style, whether the guy was rough around the edges or was maybe more diplomatic, it was always, hey, take care of the Marines, you know, and they will take care of you. So yeah, we did a lot of hanging out together in that company. We had Timmy Leggett was in that company. We had Bryant Smith, but that was kind of a tough decision that Captain Lewis had to make early in that forming of the company, because he had to give up a platoon to be the MEU platoon. Mm-hmm. It kind of not in the middle, but right when we were starting, like, hey, we're going to go do something. Mm-hmm. Something's going down. We started working with 3-4, which is another outstanding organization. But yeah, so it was like, shit, what platoon do you chop to go be the MEU, and it's going to miss out on potentially, you know, what we all joined to do. Right. So it's funny, before that even happened, because I didn't deploy, I hadn't had any deployments yet, and I was that really bothered me. You know, I left what was it, 96. As soon as I left Tank Battalion, they started a M1 MEU platoon. Remember those guys transitioned over to 60. So I thought, damn it, that's not going to happen. Missed out on Somalia. So our platoon actually got selected. We sat around for like 30 days in the barracks, sitting on our sea bags, thinking we were going to go to Somalia. That didn't happen. You know, I was like, gosh, man. So then I thought, hey, maybe I could be a warrant officer, you know, go NBC, because, you know, I didn't join and be in a tank outfit to ride the bench. Right. You know? So, you know, and I had this little flow chart of like, hey, you know, these are different courses of action. If I become a warrant officer, it's going to do this. So anyways, you know, and I had 3 of them, you know, just like you do, right? And I had one that was garbage that I sent up to my wife for her to review.
The throwaway COA.
Yeah, throwaway COA. It was like, hey, be a rock star and be on tour with Iron Maiden. She's like, yeah, no, that ain't happening, dude. One of these 3. So anyways, we start doing our workups, and it's apparent that we're going to go. And so I remember training with 3-4, and at first we didn't know how we felt about that, because we were going to be away from the battalion, you know, the tank battalion. And a lot of people, you know, our peers, you know, at the clubs and stuff, they would say, yeah, you guys are just going to be you guys are going to be processing POWs with the grunts. You're going to miss out on this, you know, big tank fight. But, you know, that nothing could be further from the truth. So everybody got a little bit of something on that one, you know.
For sure. And then you mentioned it, but I'm gonna circle back for a moment.
Okay, yeah.
You mentioned about, you know, the leaders in tanks, and a lot of those names that you mentioned are certainly people that you know set the community up for success.
Yeah.
But I like to kind of draw a conclusion here a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
The one thing that really sets up our community and makes us special from a leadership perspective is, like you said, taking care of the Marines. The pride that we have in being, you know, who we are as far as tankers go, yep. and then have a no fail mentality, and that really, that no fail mentality is something that I'm going to try to bring into the next part of your bio.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
So you served after your deployment to Baghdad, you came back, and you were selected to serve as part of the instructor staff, which at the time was 8th Tanks Company D. But I came to learn here that you were challenged with a rather difficult mission of really kind of, you know, taking a tank company and essentially doing a divestment before the divestment thing was a thing.
Yeah.
Because 8th Tanks Company D became Fox Company 4th LAR.
That's right.
And you were stationed in Eastover, South Carolina. So as a leader there, you were serving as the training chief in the company gunny. So now you had to look those tankers in the eyes and say, hey, you know, hey, Marines, check it out. You're no longer going to be on tanks. Oh, by the way, some of you are going to go to scouts, some of you are going to go to LAR. So what was that like? Because I imagine that was a hard pill to swallow for some of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's that's we get territorial. We have our team, and hey, that's where we want to be. That's kind of what it's about. But so those Marines, they just got back from Horn of Africa, and I'm their new training chief. And it's like, hey, Marines, we are not. They did their post deployment, and all that. But yeah, trying to understand, and looking at all their records, like who's got the aptitude, who's gonna be a grunt. I mean, you're on the phone and you're making these deals with the schoolhouse. Before that even happened, the I&I staff, myself included, we had to get trained up on the LAV.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to run their gunnery? I never ran a Bradley gunnery. So and of course now, so I took what I learned. I took seeing all those old master gunners, all that experience of doing it in the old days before even range 500 was built.
Mhm.
My first gunnery was on range 113. You spent about 2 weeks out there, maybe 10 days before it even began, putting in them target lifters and
Mhm.
living out of the back of a 7-ton. That just you're already exhausted before the training even began. But
Mhm.
so you learn a lot there, and I knew we could do it. I just had to kind of get buy-in from the Marines, and you're not blowing smoke up their ass. You're just telling them, like, look, this is happening,
Mhm.
and this is out of our pay grade. So you need to figure out, do you want to be go to Chief Scout School, or here's your chance to maybe slide over to the maintenance side, because we need good people. Oh, and by the way, it's going to have we're going to have a mortar variant. you
Mhm.
know we're going to have right, we're going to have scouts, you're going to have the LAV 25 variant. So all these things, I mean, the whole that whole company was going to be different. And I looked at it like, and I told them from my own experiences that there's going to be a lot more opportunities to deploy as an LAV crewman than there are as a tank crewman. And because why? Well, we used to watch 3rd LAR pack up their stuff and leave, while first tanks, we'd just be sitting there on the sidelines watching them go to some deployment or some joint task force, or some kind of real operation. So once I got buy-in from a few of the other Marines, then that kind of spread out through the rest of that company. Like, hey, this is going to be okay. So I had to pull some of the salty guys around. Some of those older tankers had been to Beirut. That's kind of it's a benefit of having those reserve Marines, or they've been in that community for so long. A lot of them were highway patrol, state troopers, and you can explain it to them. A lot of them, they do this for fun. So you're not talking to you might be talking to an actual rocket scientist, right? That's
Mhm.
going to the University of South Carolina. So you tell
Right.
them, hey, look, it's going to look like this. It's going to be the same thing, as far as it's going to be gunnery. You don't have to walk.
Mhm.
You like automotive stuff. That's kind of the beauty of being, in an armored force, an armored community.
Right.
You have to understand vehicle maintenance if you're a crewman, right? Husbandry of equipment, taking care of your shit, all that stuff, weapons. It's like, we already know that. We're just going to learn on something different. So, couple of us went to school first, and then we were able to come back and tell them basically how cool it was. I mean, which it was kind of neat. We flew from South Carolina, we went TDY to a leaders course. We got to drive the LAVs from, Pendleton down to the range in 29 Palms.
Mhm.
That's kind of cool. Road march, you don't get to do too much of that in a tank, right? So, yeah, that was all good, and that was all a great experience, because now we had the maintenance guys, they were all for it. I think they probably understood better than the tankers that, hey, this is an opportunity, because this is another piece of gear that you can learn. And yeah, you might be a good tank mechanic, but now you can be a good LAV mechanic, which is going to help them in their career later.
Mhm.
So yeah, that definitely had some challenges trying to get that sorted out.
Yeah, once again, excellent example of your leadership and your ability to kind of take them, from point A to point B, and making sure that everyone was successful. After completion of that successful tour, you returned back to Company B
Mhm.
at First Tanks, where you served as a platoon sergeant, and here you deployed to Al Anbar province,
Yep.
and was also selected to rank of master sergeant. So obviously, Al Anbar is very different than your first deployment. But how was this deployment different from your first tour?
Okay, so first tour is more kind of in the traditional sense of what we think, conventional warfare. We're the whole combined arms. We're moving under, you know, one element is suppressing and another is maneuvering, CACs. We're really putting into practice the theory of that combined arms. I mean, if you think about it, we were all experts in that, right? Growing up at that, you might have been a lieutenant thrown into the CACs. Now you're an OPSO somewhere running air for somebody. I mean, everybody at that time was, kind of the dream team, that 2003 and, crossing LD and, shifting
phase line
fire,
execution and
all that.
yep.
So it's all by the book. And that's, and this one was not that. It was the opposite. Now we're getting into, you're guarding a checkpoint, or you're kind of like highway patrol, but you're a tank. The enemy is not as conventional. I mean, you're driving around trying not to get blown up. It's a lot different. It's very frustrating because you can't just start, launching heat rounds into the suspected, targets. I do remember, quick story on this. You got, it was at night, and the intel reports say there's been IED activity, blah blah blah. So I'm sitting in the tank, and it's it was in Dulab area, and I see this guy digging, and it's the middle of the night, and I'm from Arizona, and I'm like, oh, man, this looks bad. So really, by the rules of engagement, yeah, you could engage this guy. It looks suspicious, but something tells you, and here's where you got to kind of, we talk about that tactical patience, right? So it's like, okay, look at the whole picture. Is he digging? Does it look suspicious? Should we kill him? Okay, it's not that easy of a flow chart, right? Yeah. You're in a 68-ton tank. You're 200 meters away from him. You have thermals. He doesn't even know you're there. We have local security posted. All these things you're factoring into this decision. So it's like, okay, what do we got in the area? So you look at your map. You're like, hey, call back to the patrol base. There's a squad of infantry. They're on their dismounted patrol. Hey, can you guys walk over here for a little bit? So you sit in the tank for an extra 30 minutes, right, while it's hot. And then it ends up, everything checks out. The dismount patrol finds out, hey, this guy is, he's legit. He's got identification. And it's like, yeah, he's fixing his irrigation, his hose. And you're like, yeah, no shit. It's 120 degrees at night.
During the day. Yep.
Yeah, during the day. So, and so a lot of that stuff I think is, I think it's important. I think it teaches you, I think, that kind of upbringing, when you just got these hard ass leaders, and, they're training you. I think they put you in a mindset where you're not easily agitated, or you're not easily spooked. What I mean? You're like, okay, hold on a minute, man. We're 200 meters from this guy. Let's just see what's going on. I mean, if shit goes bad, I mean, how bad can it be from 200 meters? I mean, we got heat rounds and the 50 cal. I mean, we could really, we have another squad of infantry. So let's just be cool about it. And I remember those kind of moments, and then of course you got your crew, right? How fun, you got to throw them in the mix, right? Hey, Gunny, let's do this. Let's, the guy's planting a bomb, hey, everybody center key for a minute. Shut up and let me listen to this, right. Or let me kind of assess what's going on. But I think I look back now, now I'm getting older, and, now you see, oh, that's why I was getting trained. That's why those guys were just ruthless, and, making sure you knew that tank and you understood, like, what it can do and what you can do. And hey, don't get excited if somebody's shooting at you, just everything is very, it's all planned. It's like, it's all by design, but they don't tell you that when you're a boot. It's almost more fun if they can just harass you and watch the reaction, which, looking back, I think it's great. It's like, somebody, you probably heard the saying, it's like, you have a good teacher when you don't even know you're being trained. Right. You don't even know you're learning, right? That's like, they waved this wand, and, you just think that the guy's a dick or whatever, but he's not. He, like you said, he loves you. He truly, genuinely cares about his Marines, and this is just his way of showing it,
Yeah, great story there. I mean, yeah, I think of Karate Kid and Ralph Macchio, painting the fence and waxing the cars.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hey, how many more times? Hey, shut up. Just
do it again.
Keep
do
scrubbing.
it again. Yeah. Muscle memory. how to control that vehicle, how to control,
Yeah, yeah.
message to the gunner, and then
Mhm.
that synchronization between the TC and the gunner is so important too. And you don't get that by not doing a whole muscle memory thing. So yeah,
No.
it's a great point.
Mhm.
2008 got interesting for you. Here you were selected as a very interesting billet, and I come to find out that it was actually with your family. So you got to deploy Oconus with dependents, which obviously is a very unusual thing,
Yeah.
to serve as part of the First Armored Regiment in Darwin, Australia. In this assignment, you held billets that sound very much like Australian billets because they are. You served as the squadron sergeant major,
Yep.
the regimental gunnery officer,
Mhm.
and the training warrant officer. So
Yeah.
as a master sergeant, obviously these are not American names, and there's a reason because you were embedded directly with the Australian tankers down there. So let me ask you, man, how awesome was this assignment?
Yeah, it's very awesome. It's yeah, I couldn't believe it. I got the word while I was on that second tour in Iraq, and I had been to Australia before um, with my platoon, and we had done we actually got an opportunity to do leopard gunnery, which I thought was great. It's another platform. So here I got to learn M1. I've done LAVs. Oh man, leopard, awesome. That's great. I'll do that too. So that's cool.
Mm.
So I get the word. Matter of fact, it was I come back off of a patrol and they say, "Hey, Master Guns in the States needs to talk to you." And it was basically, "Hey, do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't even ask if it was accompanied. I just said, "Yeah, I'm going. I'm going." I figured out I could maybe smooth it out later with the wife if it wasn't accompanied. But so we get over there, and I made some friends. This is actually, yeah, this is funny. So for those of us that are married and those of you that are watching, I'm sure this happens in every MOS, but you run into your old drinking buddies, and God bless those wives that stood by us. When they tell you, "Hey, you come home early tonight because it's so and so's birthday or whatever." Yeah, 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 I won't forget. Well, you run into somebody at the club, and you're like, you're about 6 beers into it or whatever. You're like, "Hey, whip us up something. Swing by the package store and grab some beers. I got
Mm.
E-steps coming over for whatever, right?" Uh, so anyways, I had met some drinking buddies while I was there with my platoon. And these are staff NCOs, other officers. And, I went to a housewarming party with one of the guys, and it was exactly like being in the States, "Hey, these are tankers. They know how to tank." And then you have a couple drinks. Man, life is great. So I
Mm.
bring my family over there, and they gave us an allowance. The government gave us, our government, taxpayers, thank you very much. Gave us an allowance to go out. They said, "Go out of town and find a house. You have this
Mm.
much money to spend." So found a brand new house. No kidding. They don't have a housing area. They have a thing where if you own a home, the property owner is authorized by the defense to rent that out to other defense members.
Mm.
So this house was brand new, and I was like, "Yeah, that looks great." I had to give a. We were going to pick two houses. I asked my kids, and they were like, "Dad, we want this new one."
Mm.
And I said, "Absolutely not. You guys are going to dick this one up. International incident. They're not going to have Americans over here no more. No way." And they were like, "Dad, please." It was a very beautiful house. It was so nice. I was almost embarrassed to be in it because, I mean, these kind of things, I just thought, man, this is just such a special occasion. But I was like, all right, we're going to embrace it then. Let's go. We got this badass house. And well, this lady comes pushing her stroller down the road, and she's like, "Oh, hey, Yatesy." And the look on my wife's face, was like, "Who in the hell is this?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, this is so and so's wife." And she says, "Hey, where you got? What's going on?" I said, "Yeah, I've just got orders. I'm going to be living here." And she goes, "Man, we live." Like I was catty corner to their house. I didn't even realize it. The housewarming party that I'd went to, like 18 months earlier.
Right.
So needless to say, my wife thought that she got away from all the late nights of, drinking beer, talking about tanks. And now here I am, couldn't be further from First Tank Battalion, but still just going to kind of pick it up where we left off. Now tanking in another country, drinking beers. So yeah, that. And she just thought, "Oh my God." Well, yeah,
How tank will travel.
yeah. So it was, um, so this led up to this was another this moment I was prepared for, again, to be kind of on an independent duty. While I was on that second tour in Iraq, I mean, I was promoted to master sergeant, but they kept me as a platoon sergeant, and they kept me on my tank. And because of distributed ops, we're operating as a tank section. So here you got this master sergeant running amok in Al Anbar with a tank section, and a case of Rippets, right? And I loved it. I absolutely loved what I was doing. I'd see other master sergeants, and they'd look at me like, dude, how did you do that? You should be running some shop somewhere. And I knew I was very fortunate, and I got to stay on the tank, and I got to stay with those Marines for that deployment, as a tank commander, as a section leader. Just
and for those of us that are, for the viewers that are not in the community, it's important to know that what Top's is trying to say here is that he got extremely lucky, because the moment you pin on that third rocker and you become a master sergeant, you typically lose your tank, and you typically lose it in some cases forever, because you're either riding a Humvee, or you're in an office somewhere, or you're riding in the Amtrak's part of the command element.
right.
So to have that experience in combat as a platoon sergeant, and actually being able to work, essentially distributed operations, where you were calling the shots. You were your own boss for a very long period of time as a master sergeant in a tank is extremely unusual and very fortunate. But I want to give a little bit of perspective there for that whole thing.
Thanks.
So finishing up your time, actually, do you want to say anything else about Australia? Because I was
Australia. So again, I thought, man, this is great. I every opportunity that they threw at me, I took it. So they were like, hey, Top, we're down to extra tank. Hey, shit, I'll be your wingman again. So I get to do more tanking, and I never got tired of it, and it was another, you're crashing through, basically the jungle up there in Mount Bundy, which, makes you thank God that 29 Palms exists. If you think 29 Palms hellhole, Mount Bundy is a whole different animal. And it's, again, that's more experience, and you're operating. I got to operate, I went to Land Rover school while I was there, and everything they threw at me. So I even was kind of like a smart aleck. I said, hey, the regimental sergeant major, I said, hey, you want me standing in formation in front of these soldiers? He's like, yeah, goddamn it, you're the regimental sergeant, or you're the squadron sergeant major, which is the company sergeant or tank leader and first sergeant. So I thought, man, you know what? Here it is. I purposely put down master sergeant because I did not want to do any of this kind of ceremonial stuff. So I'll be damned if I'm going to be doing. Now I got to learn Australian drill. So this was actually pretty cool. So we went out there, and the Australian Army, for those of you that don't know, they've got a lot of transplants in there from New Zealand. They have people from Ireland, England, all over the place, right? And so there's this weird mix of English language going on, and nobody can understand what anybody's talking about. So I go out there and I learn close order drill, because we have a parade, we have a formation, and my guys, we have to march out there. So I learn all the commands, and they're a little bit different, but I'm like, okay, it's pretty basic as far as preparatory command and command of execution. So I just grabbed my company and I got them in the circle, and I said, hey, listen up, gents. This is what we need to do. You know what to do. You've been in more of these parades than I have. So if I say the command, you just know what's coming out, whether it's left face or left wheel, or, over the quick march or double time, whatever it is. If I say it wrong, just do what is right. Do the right, and we'll get through this. And I had that little pep talk. We actually got a bunch of thumbs up and kudos from some of the other units when they said, man, that was outstanding. We didn't know you Yanks could drill like that, And I was thinking, well, shit, I didn't know I could drill like that either. It was, I just told the guys, hey, look, this is what we got to do. You know how it's supposed to look. So whatever comes out of my mouth isn't really important. It's the timing and all that other, ceremony, I guess.
Right. Making it look good.
Making it look good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, man, that's excellent. That's an awesome experience too. And that takes us up to where you finished your time with the Marine Corps, where you then returned back to First Tanks and served with Charlie Company and headquarters, HNS, Headquarters and Support Company. And this is where you held the billets of tank leader and S4 chief. And during this period, you deployed to Helmand Province.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, though, this deployment at Homing Province was not on tanks. It was actually in lieu of mission,
Hmm.
where you were functioning. The company was functioning as a route clearance company attached to Third CEB. So, the question here will be: with this being an in lieu of mission, how well did the tank community and the tankers in particular do in this mission?
Yeah. So again, here's another opportunity for tanks to smash a home run. My entire career up to this point, it was, you have individual officers. They're augmenting. They're going over Black Sea rotation. So pretty much the pedigree. It's like must be something in the water there on the tank ramp. Every time that tanks is represented, they kick ass. I don't know what it is. So it's back you have tank battalion had its own organic infantry guys, right? You had scouts and toes. Well, those guys would go and they would kick ass down to division matches. You had, tanks supply, best supply account in the division. Even the chow hall was so good that other people would come to tanks chow hall, right? So our maintainers are the best. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we're going to try to beat these guys at their own at engineering. They want us to do engineering. So I made a joke just recently. It was like, well, I guess if you can't beat them, they hate you, so they're just going to tear your chow hall down, so some other chow hall can get awards, right? Or they'll just get rid of all the tanks altogether because they're tired of competing with us. So so this route clearance, and I thought, well, shit, okay, how's this? And then if you looked at my company, it was great because we had, it was a mixed match of we had scouts. Those guys were coming over. So what was neat for me, because now I'm older now, I'm a master sergeant, I've seen a few things. If you look at it as a team, right, and you're building a team for the championship, we have these infantry guys, these O3s. Their strengths are dismounted operations. And we don't know, tanks don't know shit about, we like to think we do, we don't. Those guys, they don't know shit about maintaining vehicles, right? I mean, it's kind of like this neat thing going on where, we're going to all have to learn together to make an effective route clearance company. That's, that's going to be a very dangerous job. So, it integrated. Additionally, you thrown in, I had to send people to dog handler school. Jones, you got a dog, right? You like them? Oh yeah, Top. All right, hey, you're going to ID sniffing school or whatever, right? And these Marines would come back and then they would demonstrate what they learned outside of their MOS. Just amazing that they give a command and then the dog does its thing, and you're like, man, this is awesome. This guy was a MIMS clerk 6 months ago. Look at this shit. He's running point now for this dismounted. I was just humbled by that. It just, I don't know if humbled is the right word. I think I knew we would do good, but just watching that just really puts a smile on your face. Like, you know what? It's not bullshit. It's not the bumper stickers that we have about tanks and hoorah and all. No, it's for real. The shit, whatever we learned or whomever sprinkled that dust on us that made us want to do so good, that came out in that deployment. Because, and I'm not just talking shit. I mean, we have the metrics to prove we had the best strike to find ratio out of an engineer. We were one of the engineer companies. Right. So again, that makes you feel proud. Like, hey man, we're going to beat these guys at their own game. And the experts would come down and they train you on the equipment. You take that very serious, And I think that's to me, that's always been a part of being a tanker. And if I can finish up with this quick story. Top Mummy, I used to try to, piss him off or whatever, and we'd give each other, jabs. And he told me, I knew what he was getting at. He's like, hey, everybody in tank battalion is a tanker, right? And I was like, yeah, whatever, Top. They're not MOS. I knew what he was saying. I just wanted to poke the bear a little bit. So he's like, and then he takes his wayfarers off again. He says, look, goddammit, if it's got tracks, it's a tank. And I said, well, a snowmobile has tracks. Is that a tank? And then, right? I said, yeah, Top, I know what you're talking about. But that's true. And again, this is not just me just praising, tank battalion, the tankers, and then towards the end of my career, I had the pleasure to serve with the East Coast Marines that didn't have a chance when I was younger, So
Mhm.
this is where I met up with the East Steps and the Willenbeckers, right? Tim Duval on that march up to Baghdad. He was at Knox. I'd never met these guys before. We'd always hear stories of our distant cousins in this land on the other coast.
Mhm.
And then when you meet them, you realize like, God damn, man, these guys are good too. And as a group, it's yeah, it's a little different, East and West Coast, whatever, but there's some kind of something at the core that makes tank crewmen or being part of a tank battalion just elevates your game. So if you're a supply guy, hell, even if you're a cook, you better bring your game on because there's going to be competitions for best mess hall, right? Best mess in the West, all right? Tank battalion again. Everything we do, it's always tanks. Armor officers, right? You guys, you always have to advocate for tanks. You're alone out there on the float. You have to go up to an infantry company commander and tell them, hey, sir, no disrespect, but leading your assault with the Amtracs is a dumb idea, and this is why.
Yeah. This is what
And
I can bring for you.
and this is why. And because I think at a very early age, you got, if you're a tank sergeant or if you're a young lieutenant, you learn maintenance, you learn logistics, you learn the requirements,
Yeah.
you learn how to support other arms, because that's, we're not like indirect fire, nothing wrong with that, but we are direct fire support of that mission on the ground. So
Yeah.
we understand scheme of maneuver, we understand geometry, all this, and it happens so fast in the tank. So by the time you get some kind of staffing job or something, or you're maybe, hey, you're not a tanker no more, I need you to go over here and be a scout, you really understand the big picture. And I think that's what really sets us apart from, the other MOSs.
And that's a great summation of our community. What makes us special. And off the air, you told me kind of how you came to be in the current job you're in the civilian world. And it kind of circles back to this whole thing. Because as tankers, we also learn very quickly. If we
Yep.
don't know it, we're going to figure it out. We're going to break out the TM. We're going to break out the pubs. We're going to break out the doctrine, whatever it might be. We're going to read about it, and then we're going to figure it out. And we're going to fake the funk until we get there. And not that you fake the funk in your civilian job, by all means. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, that's all right.
But
the gig is up. They know I'm faking.
but yeah, I mean, you decided when you retired to take this job, and it's a realization kind of what the Marines might be having to deal with today, and really kind of the message for the channel. So can you talk about how you came to be in your civilian job, not playing guitar and rocking,
Yeah.
stage,
So,
but the day job.
yeah, my day job, right? So, so for the Marines, if you're thinking about getting out, or you're coming to that realization, I got to be honest, I spent the latter part of my career ensuring that my Marines were taken care of. Hey, you got to go to SEPs and TAPs. Then when it came time for me to leave, I had no idea. I literally did not think about it. And I thought, shit, what am I going to do? And I thought, I would read USA Jobs, and there's these, you read the job description, it sounds so high speed and sexy that, man, I'm just, there's no way I can do that. I just have to inventory tools, right? It's nothing could be further from the truth. We as tankers, we operate, complicated equipment, right? The tanks, start thinking about like the ammunition door, right? It's hydraulically operated. Well, the same kind of hydraulics, pneumatics and air, all that can translate into like maybe you repair something in a bottling factory, right? How those machines and an assembly line. We're good at observing processes, and so I guess I would just suggest that you kind of give yourself don't sell yourself short. My course of action was I was thinking about going to Jiffy Lube, or I was going to go to Caterpillar had a thing called Think Big. Then my friend called me and he says, hey, or text me or email, he says, hey, the Navy has cannons. And I thought, oh, no shit, they do. So there's a lot of things that we do as tankers that you might not even realize you'd be qualified for. You'd be surprised if you sat down and really kind of dissected what it is you do. You can read, right? You can follow directions, maintenance management. Wow, maybe you're in charge of a fleet of, like semi-annual services on, Ryder trucks. You go into Verizon. I could give you a great example of this, and maybe he'll reach out to you. His name's Glenn McIntosh. He was a tanker back in Charlie Company, probably from I would say maybe '93. Know this guy. He is when I talk about in the industry and people being successful, this guy was a tanker just like the rest of us. No high-speed degree. Went to work for Domino's Pizza. And I ran into him, matter of fact, at the Metallica Orion concert a few years ago. We had a couple drinks, and he says, "Hey, man," he goes, "I'm doing logistics for Domino's now." And I thought, "Oh shit, that's great." Like this region? He's like, "No, the whole damn thing."
Wow.
So here's the tanker, guys. I'm amazed by that. That this is one of us, somebody that scrubbed a shitter in building 1711, or somebody that had trouble out on Firewatch. It was taken out in the tree line. These are our people, and there is life after tanks, and this guy's doing great shit. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, how did that happen?" And he told me very matter of factly that there was some big shot, and he told him how screwed up it was, and that big shot gave him a chance to kind of unscrew the logistics, and he did. So I guess if I could tie it into you remember if for you tankers out there, you're eating chow at gunnery, right? And how to put those vat cans out, right? You grab your plate first. Top's going to be handing out chow, and he's going to be giving you a hard time. But if you look, right, the flow of that chow that comes out, right, you're going to get your mashed potatoes. Then your gravy is going to come last. That gravy vat is not first, right? Well, that's all part of this lean process and Kaizen and all this shit that you hear about these big Fortune 500 companies are doing. Well, they look to people like you and I to understand this streamlined process. So things that we do that's very matter of fact, hey, this tool goes here, that's all. Big industry, they pay people a lot of money to go into their companies and basically get their shop straightened out. Or maybe the flow of the bus boys isn't going like it should. So there's a lot of things we can do. I don't know if I can give after this, people, y'all know how to get a hold of me, but if you need help with your resume or something. But I didn't think this either. I thought, man, I just know how to tank, and I know how to be in the field, and I can know how to be miserable and suck it up. But then you find out there's really a lot of stuff that we can do. So don't sell yourself short.
What a great message. I mean, absolutely powerful. Exactly what we need right now.
Thanks.
I'm going to steal the stage for a moment, though,
Yeah.
and thank the viewers and the folks that have stuck around and continued to support the channel. Thank you to the subscribers. We continue to grow every day, and from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. If you have not already done so, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification. If you like the episode, please press the likes as well. Special thank you to you. I know you're extremely busy yourself. You definitely devoted the time for this, provided some great leadership lessons, some great historical, memories, and really what makes this all special. And you are absolutely a special person. I'm gonna throw it out there. If you're in the area and you want to see Top play, he's putting together a new band here. So very soon he'll be back on the stage, rocking it out for everybody. Please keep in touch, and I really do appreciate it, Top. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care. Out of here.